wish it was you ringing that.
Get Josh.
Pass. Pass. Pass.
Hello everybody and welcome to Motorsport Life and the Motorsport Life show. We do this every week on Wednesday evenings at 5 p.m. UK time. So hello and welcome to the show. As you can see, we're in the studio, also known as my man cave, and we are going to be talking about various different things. So this is different to the roundup show that we do on a Monday evening at the same time. That talks about kind of the motorsport that happened over the weekend, you know, the stories and the news that came out of that. Whereas this one is just a general motorsport discussion, really. Whatever, you know, you guys want to see, what you guys want to talk about, we can talk about. So I often pick some topics that we're going to talk about in the day, you know, stuff that I've seen over the weekend or during the week. And then you guys can chip in. We don't have to stick to the topics. But anyway, if you follow us on Twitter, which is at motorsportlife_, we give a list of the topics that we're going to be talking about. And the same on Instagram, which is at motorsportlifeofficial. So go and check those out. Follow us on those so you can see what is coming up on the streams. and also get your notes into us before the show, and we will happily give you a shout out and get you involved by talking about what you want to hear. So, as you can see, we'll just run through the topics that we're going to look at today. So the first one is Racers That Vlog. So this is professional racing drivers who have decided to start a YouTube channel or, a stream of some form. We'll have a look at the best and, see what is there available and whether some of them work and whether some of them don't, etc. But I find it really interesting. I always wanted to be a racing driver, as a lot of people do, and I like to see behind the scenes, on Instagram and things like that, and also what people get up to when they're racing. So we'll have a look at that. Second up, we've got onboard videos. So obviously with the introduction of things like GoPros and action cams, there's a lot more availability of onboard videos, whether it is, again, professionals or amateurs or riders or drivers, etc. So there's a lot to look at with onboard videos, so we'll go through that. Winter testing, so that is just to say that it has officially started for the year, and across motorsport. So obviously Formula One, we've got some liveries being announced. We've also got MotoGP that has finished their first day of testing at Sepang, and some other bits as well. Things like WRC are testing at the minute ahead of Sweden. We've got, what else have we got testing? Stuff. Yes. We've seen some Arden boys, some GT3 teams racing. We've got, that's it, Toyota testing for WEC. So yeah, lots of testing. Number 4, one of the more interesting ones that I've been looking forward to covering, actually, and that is the slowest motorsport. And I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm going to see if any of you can kind of guess what it is before we get there. But we'll have a look at the slowest motorsport that I'm aware of. Again, I'm always happy to be proved wrong, but it's the one I'm aware of. And then finally, we'll just have a quick look at this weekend's motorsport coming up this weekend, which should be exciting. It's kind of a lull, actually, this weekend. There's not that much happening, but there is always motorsport to watch. So, without further ado, let's go into our first topic. So we will be looking at Racers That Vlog. Now, the reason that I have decided to kind of look at this is because it's becoming a lot more prevalent, and it seems to be kind of, I don't want to say something for people to do, because that's the wrong thing to say, but it gives drivers kind of another outlay, another way of talking to their fan base, whether that is through their sponsors who've asked them to do it, or through off their own back. But we're going to start off with a couple that I like, and we're going to start off one who has uploaded today, and it is great. So if I swap over to this view, you should be able to see on the screen now. And as I've said before, if you put anything in the chat, it will come up below and we can have a chat about it. So if I type this, for example, in here, it'll come up on the screen. That's as big as I can get it, which is annoying. But maybe we'll have a look into that. So Racers That Vlog. So Toby Price, as you can see on this screen here. And yes, why is that not scrolling? Bear with me a second. That's why. Perfect. Yes. So that is now scrolling. Yeah. Okay, we got that working. Sorry about that. Yeah, so as you can see on the screen here, we've got Toby Price, who is the current and reigning 2019 Dakar motorbike champion. No mean feat, especially as he had a damaged wrist. But you'll see here, he hasn't posted anything in a couple of months, a year. He hasn't really uploaded. But then, a week ago, he posted this, my first vlog from the Dakar Rally, part 1. And you can see he's already, a fun guy. He's using emojis in his thumbnails. Always a good idea, bro. So he races for the KTM Red Bull team. And he's a bit of a dude. He's a American. What am I talking about? Sorry. He's Australian. an Australian kangaroo, and he's pretty cool. So I'll show you this once we get off this. So he's already into the vlogger's way of doing it as if he's just woken up in the morning. So as you can see, it's a 17-minute vlog, and all the way through this. So this is him flying out to Peru, kind of him arriving in the hotel. He gets loads of Red Bull goodies. So this is the sort of stuff that people want to see.
And then a welcome gift card.
So you get some cool stuff.
So, and then yeah, over 24 hours easily sitting around in the airport.
So then yeah, he's talking about all the travel.
Now.
He plays a prank on his teammate Sam Sunderland.
So we're excited and stoked for that.
So he hides all of his kit in a wardrobe.
Yeah, it said.
He didn't realise. So this is them before kind of going to go and see the bikes. You get to see all their race kit and the team kit that they get, which is a lot. Showing off his mate who used a Sharpie to do some artwork on his race boots. You know, this is the sort of cool stuff that you just don't get to see through mainstream media. And in my opinion, it's flipping awesome. So yeah, so you see again more artwork on his race boots. We'll skip through a bit. So there's his bike. It's them when they're just riding through to scrutineering. This isn't a race day. Shows kind of where the team is set up. So this was him just going to go and test out the bike. You know, a bit of a shakedown, which is a bit different to tarmac racing. Just go and razz it over a dune flat out ledge. And you get the idea. So that's a great example of somebody who has just decided to start doing it, you know, and he's the ideal candidate to do it, in my opinion. You know, he's a down-to-earth guy. He likes having a laugh. He likes the banter and all of that sort of stuff. And I just think that he's a cool guy, and I love to see things from factory riders, you know. And F1, it just gets they're just robots these days. And Lewis Hamilton, fair play to him, you know, on his Instagram things, has, you know, broken loose of that a little bit. But it really is, it's cool to see. So you can see that he's got part 1 and part 2 is the actual start of the rally. So him going through scrutineering and how he's feeling going through the first stage. So we'll move on to the second person that we have a look at. And this guy here, which you should be able to see now, is a guy called Andreas Backerud. And he's, you know, created this brand of hashtag Backerud Life. And he's got 30,000 subscribers. And, you know, he does almost daily. Well, they're not daily. How often are they? Let's have a look. 1 or 2 a week. So you'll see here on this page, he's, you know, got the glossy page, he's got the thumbnails right, and he's got it on lockdown basically. So he last year was a Audi World Rallycross driver. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff from his racing. There is a track called Hell. And he does cool stuff like this as well. It says that I only watched that much, but I definitely watched the whole thing. So he talks about what he's going to be doing next. You see him getting to go and test some Formula cars at the Red Bull ring in Austria. It used to be the A1 ring. You get to see him go do that. You get to go and see him drive a DTM car. And then he kind of talked about what he's going to do next year. He's looking at maybe creating his own team to race in Rallycross. Should he change motorsport? Should he join another team? He goes and drives a 450 horsepower rally beast in the snow. And he also gets to drive an electric car on ice. But he's done loads of cool stuff like sim racing, all of that sort of stuff. We'll just give you an idea of what it's like if I put it on this screen here. And again, bloody advert. Not much I can do about it.
Back Your Life. We are in Spielberg in Red Bull Ring in Austria. It's a bit moist, it's a bit wet on the ground. It's going to be a challenge to drive. First I'm going to drive a Formula 4 car, and then we're going to move up to the big thing, which is the Formula Renault 3.5.
So it's all very glossy, great production, great editing. He's obviously got somebody to do that. I mean, obviously it sounds harsh, but I think I've seen them in previous videos. So they're testing road cars, and then he heads out in an F4 car. Living the dream, eh? Being paid to do it as well. Even better. So that's him looking very happy because he's driven an F4 car, and then later on we get to go and see him drive in a World Series car. Oh, he's so lucky. But anyway, so you see he does it as well. So he races in World Rallycross, and he does behind the scenes stuff. And also, if he's going out with other racer mates, so there's a lot that he does with like Ken Block, and there's a couple of other guys he hands out with quite a lot as well. Daniel Apt, who is now a Formula E driver. So there's a lot that he offers, and it's great to see again behind the scenes. Now, somebody who else has just started to do this as well, so if we go on here, is Lando Norris, who is now officially a McLaren F1 driver, which is great. He does a thing called a Lando log. There's been a big gap between them. He used to do them quite frequently, but he's just done this one. Yeah, we're not here for fun, exactly. For a Bahrain training camp that he's on with his McLaren team, or his physio at least. And you get to see what kind of training goes into it, which again is incredible, and makes you realise that it's not all just glamour and racing. Unfortunately, you do have to do a lot of work when you are, when you are a racing driver, especially an F1 driver. A lot of neck training, as you can see in this thumbnail here. But yeah, go and check out Lando. He's only got 23,000. He hasn't even gotten as many as Andreas Backerud at the minute. But I'm sure that will change if he keeps doing these throughout the F1 season. I think that this could be one to watch. So from current or soon to be F1 drivers to past F1 drivers, we've got a certain Nico Rosberg. So he's now packing 405,000 subscribers. So he does a vlog on a regular basis now. He also does podcasts, which is this is actually a great one, the Fear of Failure one with Matthew Syed, who's written a book about what goes into being a professional sportsman. He used to be a professional table tennis player, and that's a really interesting insight. So what are we talking about here? Yeah, so he does a lot of stuff. So he got to test the McLaren Senna. He drove it around a French circuit. Is it Paul Ricard? Yeah, Paul Ricard. So there's great content of him doing that. He goes to a lot of motor shows. He's been to the Abu Dhabi F1 finale, to the season finale. He has just announced that he is launching I can't even remember what it's called now, Green Tech Festival project that he's doing. It's all about green energy. He's invested in Formula E, so there's a lot of coverage of that. He's customizing his AMG Project 1, hence the 1.5 million views compared to there, which is how to run a Formula 1 team and business with Flavio. I think that's a really interesting one as well. So there's a lot of lifestyle stuff in there. There's a lot of road car. There's a lot of motorsport. So I think it's quite good. Again, it's very polished. It's very well edited, etc. So I do find that interesting, and it's great to see, these people starting to understand that YouTube and live streaming and vlogging and things is the future of motorsport. So go and check them out, because I really can recommend them. There's definitely more. Scott Redding, he started to do some. You know, he got injured. There's him testing his new British Superbike. Daniel Apt does a lot as well. So we saw that he was on Andreas Backwards. You know, he's got 240,000 subscribers, so he's doing really well. He does a lot of more lifestyle stuff with supercars and things like that. Drag races, always popular on YouTube. Again, supercars, wraps, you know, tuned road cars as opposed to the motorsport stuff. But there is still motorsport stuff included in there as well. As you can see, we are subscribed to quite a lot of channels, you know, mainly motorsport championships and races. So you see, there are a lot of people now that are doing these. There's a lot of people doing these vlogs, and I think it's a great thing. I think anywhere where you can see behind the scenes of a professional sportsman is great to see. You know, the ability for them to be able to share that now very easily. You know, these people can normally afford to have an editor who can sort this out for them. So I personally think that it's great. But let me know again in the chat or in the comments below if you're on YouTube, then or tweet us or Instagram. Then do let us know, because it's really interesting and great to see, to be honest. So without further ado, let's move on to the next topic. So, on to onboard videos. Now, onboard videos has been something that I've always really enjoyed. And at university, which was the first time I ever had broadband, depressing, when YouTube was in its infancy, I actually had an onboard, well, mainly F1 onboard video channel. It obviously got copy striked fairly regularly by old Mr. Bernie Eccleston and his team. I actually made a montage of F1 videos and onboard videos, which I loved. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately, couldn't keep it up because they made it so hard to grab. I used to be able to download full onboard races from F1. There was a way of doing it in Germany. They had a channel called Premiere, I think, or Premiere, however you pronounce it, where you could choose to watch a whole F1 race on an onboard camera without commentary. So obviously people would grab this and then we could cut it up and put it into great highlight packages. It was fantastic. It's almost like they do now. It's only taken them, what? When did I leave uni? 11 years to get their life sorted and get that on board. But, oh well, we're there now. But onboard videos now, as I said earlier, with the introduction of GoPros, have now become a lot easier to find and a lot easier to do. Now, one of my favourite videos, I'm going to have to see if I can find this, is people getting passenger rides. It's a very popular thing on the internet now, but I'm going to show you a snippet of this. It'll get copyright, but oh well. It's from the Tickford Racing YouTube channel, and it shows I'm just going to bring this up now, Newcastle Knights, so I'm guessing is an Aussie Rules football team, star Kalen Ponga, a passenger ride in his V8 supercar. Now, it starts off dead slow, and one of the main things that I love about this video is that it shows the brutality of a racing car. Everybody just thinks, oh, you just sit down and it's fine. You know, you don't really have to do anything. But watch the passenger in this video, because it just shows how brutal the G-forces are. I'm going to play it for a bit here, and you'll get to see what happens. So he's fine at the minute, they're going in a straight line. Watch when he brakes and goes around the corner. Look, can't even control his own head under the G-forces. And his arms, don't know what he's even doing with his arms. But if you notice the driver, he's in one place because he's using all of his muscles and his core strength to keep his body in position. He obviously knows that it's about to come because he's the one pressing the brake pedal and steering. He's loving it, as we all would be. Go for the braking. Okay, so you get the drift, you get the gist, and things like that I think are awesome, and there's not enough of it. There's obviously onboards during races, but the trouble is, because you don't have somebody like that in the passenger seat, you really don't get the impression of speed or the brutality that's involved with racing. Now, I think that there is a problem with that with F1. You know, everything is stabilized and made smooth and all of that sort of things. I mean, let's compare it to the good old man himself, Ayrton Senna, with his onboard, where it just looks brutal. So if you have a look at this, I'm going to leave the noise up. Well, you get the gist. He's changing gear with his hand. You just see it's moving all over the place. His hands are getting moved around all over the place. The whole thing is shaking. It's brutal. It really is. And you get that sense. And then you compare it to, you know, something like this. Once this goes away, you'll see that it's just, you just don't get the I mean, the close racing you get, which is good, but the actual physical driving of the car, it just looks easy, which is why people don't realize how difficult it is, because there's nothing moving around. And now GoPro on their newest model have launched Hyper Smooth, which makes everything look a lot smoother. Now, I think that motorbikes is kind of a untapped resource when it comes to, here we go, when it comes to onboard videos, because I'm about to show you, he's actually somebody who we've featured before, Nicolo Canepa, who used to be, I can't remember if he got to MotoGP, but he was certainly on the ladder too, and he was in World Superbikes, but he does endurance now. And watch this video. This blew my mind the first time I saw it. This is flat out Suzuka. Join the Suzuka. Look at that, his head's virtually on the floor. You get the noise, you get the movement of your head, you see how far they lean over, the amount of work that's required. I think this is brilliant. Absolutely Harry Flatters. It's brilliant. I honestly think that it is absolutely brilliant, and I think there needs to be more of that. I'm pretty sure they won't allow onboard cameras on riders now, especially because of what happened with Michael Schumacher, obviously with the action camera kind of amplifying the injury, unfortunately. So with things like that, people are a little bit more nervous about action cameras being attached to helmets, unfortunately. But I think things like IndyCar, that's a really good one. I don't know if you guys have seen the IndyCar coverage that they do with their onboard cameras. So they do visor cam, which again I think is great. So this is, it's not in the helmet, it's on the helmet, so it's on like the visor strip. This is better. This would be awesome if they could do this in the race. But again, this is just during testing. Shows the deep G-forces, looks great. Peaked at like 2.7 there. Road America, great circuit. Not as good as Road Atlanta. But you kind of get more of an impression of the speed and the noise and the buffeting and things like that goes on in a cockpit. But they've been working on it. I'm pretty sure they have been working on it for F1, because they trialed some glasses, didn't they, that Romain Grosjean used and didn't like, and they've also looked at putting cameras in the padding of the helmet next to the eyes, but then they're worried that obviously that then reduces the padding. So it's tricky, but it will be interesting to see what they can come up with. I think putting one in the visor strip would be a good idea. As soon as you put it on top of a helmet, you just lose. It's not worth it. Hello to that person in the chat, which hasn't come up for some reason. How are you? I don't understand why that hasn't appeared on my chat on the same side. Maybe it's because you're on YouTube, I believe. But hello and welcome. So they are working on it for F1, but I think it's going to be really tricky to implement without it affecting safety, unfortunately. So I don't know how they can do it. I'm sure they could put it somewhere else on the car that would make it a bit more interesting and get rid of all the stabilization and things like that. But we will see. We will see. So that's going to be it from all videos. Let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic is winter testing. So as you might have seen, we are now underway and with MotoGP testing. There we go. Found it at last. So if you have a look at this, so Marquez tops first day of Japan MotoGP test despite stopping early. So yeah, he only did 29 laps, but I think this is ominous because he is injured. He's recovering from shoulder surgery, and he's gone quickest already. So we can see the lap times here. Marc Marquez, it's great to see Suzuki up there. I think one of the main things to take away from this is that the whole grid is covered by a second, which is fantastic. But I think Tito Rabat being at the front, Ducati being near the front, not with Dovizioso. Sad to see Cal Crutchlow down there, returning from ankle injury as well. But there's a good field spread. There's a good spread of, we've got Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, Ducati, KTM, only 6/10 off, not too bad. The new Yamaha, not too bad. And Aprilia, again, within a second. So I think it's pretty good. It'll be interesting to see how they go in the next day. We've had some news from Motorsport. Watch Haas's livery reveal live. Is that live now? Oh. Join us live. Motorsport. 7th Feb at 11 AM. So tomorrow at 11 AM. Well, we will be there. We'll definitely watch that. And I think it's the trouble is, this is my problem with it, right? They are revealing their livery, which is great, but they're not revealing the car. So I'm kind of like, why would you bother? Why? Why would you bother? Riddle me that. I think it's really annoying to me that, they are launching a new car, but they're not. They're launching a livery. I don't get it. And I've discussed this in the Weekend Roundup show earlier this week, and I think they should make far bigger deal of car launches, and I think it should be something that's run by F1 as opposed to the teams. So they say all the cars are going to be launched the day before F1 testing. You can obviously reveal sponsors and drivers and things like that before that, but the cars themselves will get rolled out every hour, one car, or every half an hour, whatever it needs to be. you know, broadcast live with loads of content coming out of it. And I think that would be great. Whereas this is a bit like, oh, they're going to reveal a livery, which is going to be Rich Energy based because that's who is now their sponsor. So I don't know. It's a little bit sad, to be honest. And it's sad. What more can I say than that, really? I hope that they do actually give us some more information other than just the livery. But, you know, winter testing does start in a couple of weeks. No less than a couple of weeks, in a week, in Jerez and Barcelona. So cars will get launched there and we will see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it. It's always great to, you know, it starts to build up that excitement, doesn't it, of the week, of the season. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good season. I do genuinely think that. Will Lewis Hamilton run away with it? Probably. But it'll be interesting to see how people like Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault fare up, and McLaren with Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. Kubica is coming back. You know, there's a lot of decent stories there. So let's be positive, but I don't think the livery of the Haas, not even on the new car, is going to set the world alight. Just my opinion. Anyway, next topic, please. The next topic being the slowest motorsport. So, have you guessed? Have you guessed what it is yet? The slowest motorsport. So, if you don't know, then it is a sport called motorbike trials. And the season has already started. So what I would like to show you now is a bit of what it is. So there is lots of coverage of it. There's even people, you know, replaying it. Let's have a look at Edge Esports. So this is it. Look, he's stationary, but he's got an engine.
Of former world champion Albert Cabastan, another of the all-time greats in X-Trail competition.
So the idea is that they ride the motorbike, they have to get over these obstacles without putting their feet down. Now, I used to do bicycle trials, which is the same but without an engine. But the amount of skill, turn the sound off, the amount of skill that is needed to do this is unbelievable, but there is no speed. You have a time limit to get through a section, but you don't have to be the fastest. So look, you know, he's just stationary, he's waiting, and he has a spotter who keeps an eye out for whether he's put foot down and also to catch him. So you'll see if we swap onto this page, yeah. So you'll now see that the X Trial, which is the indoor version, so as you saw on this page, you know, this is indoor, these are completely man-made objects, or hand-built sections, you know, with skips and whatever that is, concrete blocks, etc. So just show you a little bit more. So he's got his foot down, he's just trying to get his bike into a position, but you're thinking, how's he going to get from facing downwards to up onto here? Well, we'll find out. Can't do it. So if you put both feet down, then that's it. You're done with the section. You get a 5, it's called. And yeah, there you go. So he 5 to that section, which means he scored points. So the idea is to score as little points as possible. So you'll see that it's already started. We've had Budapest, which was on the 20th of January. We've had Barcelona on the 3rd. And then in 10 days' time, so next weekend, we've got the Spanish round in Bilbao. So as you see, it's quite a Spanish-based trial. And is that not all of them? That is all of them. That's weird. It's a very Spanish-based sport. There's a lot of Spanish riders in it. Adam Raga, Tony Bow, Jaime Busto, Jeroni Fiardo, and Benoit and Jeroni Fiardo are all Spanish. Then with Jorge Castellas, Miguel Gelabert are all Spanish. So you see, it's quite a Spanish-focused sport. But we have James Dable, British guy, who's in 9th after the first 2 rounds. So, yeah, go and check it out. It's something very, very different. You know, it's not necessarily something that you will have heard of before. It is slow, but there's a lot of skill involved. There's quite good coverage of it. It's on Eurosport. And it is really interesting. Now, you've probably heard of a man called Dougie Lampkin. He's one of the most famous motorbike riders of all time. He's a multiple world champion in this category. So, as I said, the winter version has started, which is during this period of time indoors. There is also an outdoor version, which happens from May through to about September, I think. And it it goes through that time, but that is in outdoor terrain. So that's, goes through streams and over rock beds and, all of that sort of thing, over boulders, through quarries, that sort of thing. And they have to ride through these designated sections, again, without putting their feet down. So there's a lot of content, and Tony Bowe is the current kind of man to beat. He's been the man to beat for many years, and he is drawing with Adam Raga at the minute. It's good to see Raga up there. He kind of petered out a little bit, but he seems to be coming back, which is great. And go and check it out. It is on Eurosport. There's a lot of footage of it on YouTube, as you saw there. There's live streams of previous versions going on there, which is great. And go and check it out, because the people like Dougie Lampkin now, he's a Red Bull back rider. He now does lots of different things, like he will ride through the Goodwood House during the Goodwood Festival of Speed. He's ridden through the BRDC building, up the stairs, over tables, over bars, that sort of thing. He has recently wheelied the whole of the Isle of Man TT course, all 37 miles of it, without, putting a foot down or putting the front wheel down. He's wheelied the whole thing. And, these are big deals, Well, no one else has done it, so it's great. And I really do love it, and I think you guys will too. So go and check it out. All right? Do it now. And finally, let's talk about this weekend's motorsport. So, the main one, there's not actually that much going on. Even Formula E isn't happening this weekend. There is Daytona isn't until next weekend, but there is still things this weekend. Do not despair, because there is AMA Supercross, which is bloody awesome. I'm just trying to remember where it is. It's always really hard to find the calendar. Oh, come on. Right, here we go, we found it. So this weekend is in Minneapolis in the US Bank Stadium. San Diego was very muddy. It's wide open at the minute. There's a lot of riders who are in with a chance of winning. People like Eli Tomac, Jason Anderson, who hasn't been firing on all cylinders. I think he's got injuries. Ken Roxon is riding well at the minute. You've got Marvin Muscan, who hasn't quite won yet. Got Cooper Webb, who's won a couple, but then has fallen in the last race and hasn't done as well. So, it is wide open in a minute, and it is really interesting to see. I'll just bring up the schedule on here for you. See if we can do it. Yeah. So there's the schedule. You can see that the next one is at Minneapolis. So go and check it out. It's quite hard to see. It's quite hard to see in the UK, but there's always decent highlights on there. And go and check it out, because it is really good. So the next motorsport event that it is on this weekend is the Toyota Racing Series, or New Zealand Racing Series. Just trying to get the website to load. So this is a winter single-seater series. Now, people normally scoff when you say that, but really, this is kind of top-quality stuff. It's has got Lucas Auer in it this year, and, you know, he's a DTM driver. He's tested for Force India in F1. It's class, and a lot of drivers do this because it's the only viable option to go racing single-seaters at this time of year. You get signatures towards your race license, and it keeps your eye in. You know, a lot of drivers, you know, might do sim racing, they might do karting, but I bet if you asked them and they said if you could do anything at this time of year, then you would do the Castrol Toyota Racing Series. So it's all in New Zealand. You've got the next races in Manfield in New Zealand, and you can see the current standings. Let's have a look. So you've got Liam Lawson, Marcus Armstrong, and then Lucas Auer is in third, not too far off the lead. Artem Petrov, related to Vitaly Petrov. Petru Florescu. There's a family of races, I think, the Florescus. So you see, it's actually the last round of the season, so it really is a good one to watch. They do a lot of stuff again on YouTube for you to keep up with. It's good to see, and I thoroughly recommend it. It's great racing. You know, these guys are flat out all the time, and they're there to kind of prove their worth and show themselves off to potential sponsors and race series before they then go into their main kind of program. But it does really annoy me that it is completely overlooked by mainstream media. You know, Autosport might do a news story on you know, a new driver who's they've put, like, Lucas Auer is going to be racing in there, for example, as a news story, but then they don't cover any of the races at all. Great. You know, they don't put any of the results on there. They don't show, you know, how many people are in there, you know, what those people have gone on to do. I just find it really annoying. I'm like, come on, this is mainstream motorsport in winter. It doesn't make any sense to me that they wouldn't cover it. And that's kind of it for the main motorsport stuff this weekend. There's a lot more happening next weekend with things like Formula E and Daytona 500, the big one, and more AMA Supercross. But this weekend, that is it. Unless I've forgotten anything. Have I forgotten anything? I can't remember. I don't think I have. That's all I can think of. I'm sure there might be some karting, some winter karting maybe going on. And again, we will be sharing all of this on Twitter, which is @motorsportlife_, and Instagram motorsportlife official. We share a lot of live streams and motorsport coverage and highlight coverage on there, so do go and follow us. We have also got some merch available, Motorsport Life hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and phone covers, so do go and check that out in our merch link in the Twitch feed, and also on our YouTube channel as well in the top right hand corner. Go and check that out and help yourself to some merch. We've got ours on the way, not quite here yet, but hopefully it will be soon. But that is going to wrap it up for this show. If there is anything else that you want us to talk about, then do let us know in the chat. It will appear on the screen. But if not, then hopefully you find this interesting. And as always, if there's anything else that you'd like us to talk about, then let us know as soon as you can. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.